Bonjour à toutes et à tous, j'espère que vous
Hello
passez un bon
again.
moment
I
avec nous
hope
pour
you're
ce
having
samedi
a
qui nous rejoint
good
ce matin,
time.
sur cette journée
And
Paris Spring ici à Paris-Saclay et
we're
bienvenue
really
à
having
celles et
a
ceux
good
qui nous
time
rejoignent
on
en ligne,
stage.
évidemment. On
Welcome
va
to
parler
you if you're
effectivement d'un
joining
sujet,
us
c'est pas vrai, je
from
maîtrise pas vraiment
home.
le sujet de la
We're going to
médecine
talk about something
traditionnelle,
that I don't
mais c'est une
know
médecine à
everything
laquelle
about,
on a
but
envie de
it's
s'intéresser aujourd'hui.
translational
Puisque
medicine.
par
It's something that
innovation,
we
from
want to
science
look
to
at
patients,
from
de
science
la
to
science aux
patients.
patients,
That's the
avec des liens
title
évidemment
of
dans les
this
deux sens. C'est
panel
exactement de ça dont
discussion,
on va
because
parler
really the
tout de
relationship
suite
should go
sur
both
une table
ways, and
ronde
this is what we're going to
avec
talk
des
about
invités
now.
que je vais appeler
We're going to have
tour à
this
tour et qui vont me
discussion
rejoindre
with
ici.
guests.
Fabien Schmidlin,
We have
Global Head
Fabien
of
Schmidlin,
Translational
Global
Medicine,
Head of
chez
Translational
Servier, en
Medicine
charge
at
de la médecine
Servier, in charge
translationnelle.
of
Au
Translational
groupe
Medicine,
Servier,
therefore.
Angelo Paci,
Then we
qui
have
dirige l'unité
Angelo
de
Paci,
Pharmacology à
who's in
l'Institut
charge of
Gustave Roussy,
Pharmacology at Institut
spécialisé dans les
Gustave Roussy,
cancers.
which is a
Bertrand
cancer
Joly,
treatment
vous
center in
asseyez sur les
Paris.
tabourets, messieurs.
Bertrand
On va juste
Joly,
corriger ça derrière
please
vous.
sit on
Je
the
sais, ils sont très
chairs
très beaux,
behind
ces
you. I
fauteuils,
know these
impression 3D.
are beautiful.
Mais je
You
vous
really want to
propose les
sit on
tabourets
them,
parce
but
qu'on est ensemble
please
pour
just
30
sit on the
minutes,
high
c'est quand même
chairs
un
because
petit
we're
peu
going to be
plus
together for 30 minutes, so it's going to
bienvenue à
be
vous donc,
more comfortable. So,
Angelo,
welcome to
également
you,
Bertrand
Angelo.
Joly,
We have Bertrand Joly, who is a hospital practitioner in hematology and president of the Clinical Research Commission in hospital in a hospital in the south of Paris. And Cécile Martinat, good afternoon, Cécile. You are director at INSERM, which is a French research institute, and we're going to talk about translational medicine with all of you. As we said, translational medicine is from science to patients, and the other way around. It's something which is really a tool for the future. We will see how it works. Now, François Schmidlin, hello again. You're in charge of translational medicine in Servier. And maybe we're going to rework on the definition of translational medicine. Why don't you tell us what it is? Well, translational medicine, it actually makes the bridge between research and development, because research is the phase during which we're looking for new therapeutic targets. We're looking for also drug candidates or candidate drugs. And there's development, which is when we test these drug candidates in patients. So you must have understood that in translational medicine you have researchers, you have developers, you have doctors, you have clinicians, and it is important that these people work together and pass on the information to one another, pass on the knowledge to one another, because when we work in development, of course, they have to be aware of what the disease is like for patients, and they have to fuel research with the observations that they make in patients. On the other hand, when we're looking at research, it's important to transfer the information when we go on the clinical trials, when we carry out the first clinical trials in patients. The patient is really at the center of everything that we do, at the beginning for research and also in the ultimate goal, which is treating the patient. Okay, so can you give us practical examples, applications, I would say? What does it look like, basically? Well, translational medicine, the goal of it is really to speed up access to medication for patients, basically the passage from research to development, the bridge. So how do we do that? Well, first of all, we have to make sure that information is transferred both ways, from development to research, from patients to research, and also from research to development. And in order to do that, we're going to have to make decisions to stop or decisions to continue on the research on a medication on the basis of data. Data is biomarkers, and Angelo Paci, I'm sure, is going to tell you more about this. The biomarkers in question will make it possible for us to select the first dose to be given, to be delivered to the patient, the active dose for the patient, and also they will make it possible for us to identify a population of patients who might respond to the treatment. And We are talking about personalized or customized medicine in which we treat those patients who have the best chances of being respondent to the treatment. Okay, now about these perspectives, these prospects, the most promising would be oncology. Is that what you're thinking?
What we've seen in a paper was recently published on this topic is that the number of drugs for oncology that are focusing on a subcategory of patients, it can be the pancreas cancer, for instance, this type of these drugs have the number of drugs have been skyrocketing for the past years. It will be the same thing in other areas, immunoinflammation, etc., because we are able to better determine the population of patients that are going to react properly to the drugs. So we're going to look for markers that can express specific aspects, and we are going to target the specific population of patients with this very marker. We speak a lot of chains in this area, where you have a number of various stakeholders. Can you explain exactly the medication chain? Yes, translational medicine is made up of researchers, developers, physicians, hospital people, clinicians, and what is important is to have them working together. So what is most important is that people speak the same language so that knowledge can be passed on from one group to the other. Angelo Paci, welcome. You work at the Gustave Roussy Institute, which is working, among other things, on oncology. Can you explain the function of the use of translational medicine at the Gustave Roussy? Yes. We are an institute combating cancer, first in Europe, fifth worldwide, and we have a part which is fundamental research, clinical research, and translational medicine. The fundamental research is done by INSERM and CNRS. INSERM and CNRS at Gustave Roussy's premises, with researchers doing fundamental research. And across the road, you've got in the building of the hospital, a hospital that is 15 floors high, we've got patients and clinicians carrying out clinical research, treating patients, but also assessing, testing various types of drugs. And so they work with patients from stage 1 to stage 3. We've got a specific department working on early detection in phase 1 and phase 2. And we also have a medicine department and child treatment department. And between the fundamental research and clinical research, two areas, we have what we call the translational research created by Gilles Vassal, Professor Gilles Vassal, in 2005, because he said that there was a need, including physically, for something in between clinical and fundamental research. And so this translational medicine is a bridge for to pass on the questions between the clinicians and the researchers, and also to apply what has been discovered by researchers to medicine as early as possible.
notamment un des grands enjeux de la médecine translationnelle.
The biomarkers are a key aspect of the translational medicine. You, as a member of a hospital with a contact with both research and patients, can you explain a bit further the use, the function, what you do with biomarkers on a daily basis? Yes, we briefly mentioned it. A biomarker is a biological characteristic that we can measure, monitor through imaging, radiology, that we can detect in biopsy of tumors, and that can also be identified in fluids, so that and in blood, for instance. So this biomarker is a good tool to select the right type of patients with a specific biomarker, because a biomarker is a marker showing that there is an anomaly in the patient. And these biomarkers also can help in detecting the condition, the state of the patient. And it can be also have a predictive function on the efficiency or toxicity of a treatment. Oh, so we're going one step further with those biomarkers against what we knew before in terms of diagnosis and therapy treatments. Is that what you say? When you say that you can make a forecast, do you mean that you will fine-tune and adapt the treatment to each patient? Yes, because once we've detected the biomarker, we can contribute to the diagnosis, and in some situations, it can be a tool to monitor the evolution of the condition and the efficiency or the toxicity related to the treatment. Fabien Schmidlin, Servier. How does it contribute to the activity of the Servier pharmaceutical group? Your function is to provide efficient treatments. How can translational medicine and better forecasts the predictions in the treatment can help? Well, again, translational medicine, as Angelo said, today is a tool to go faster, to make better decisions, to decide to stop a treatment or to stop studying a specific molecule or to change the dose. We speak about efficiency biomarker on whether the patient is positively reacting to a treatment. I spoke earlier about a customized precision treatment. Well, it is something that is going to develop in time. If you take, for example, the breast cancer, we speak about breast cancer, but actually we should say cancers, because there are various types of breast cancer corresponding to different prognostics. It can be triple negative, hormonodependent, H2R2, and in each case the prognostics will be different, so we can create categories based on the markers, but we also know that the drugs we will administrate will be different for these different types of patient. For the H2R positive, it will be treated, for instance, with RCT. We were speaking about Gustave Roussy Institute, but Mr. Joly, you also are representative of the hospitals, because you work in the Île-de-France hospital. What do you do with this translational medicine? My vision is broader, if I may. The development of new technologies is currently changing dramatically our relationship with the patient, and the expectations of the patient and the expectations of the clinicians are very different. The translational medicine, through remote medicine, for instance, is a major stake. And in my hospital, we've had practice of management of the patient staying at home or closed loops for patients with diabetes. What is important, as my colleague have just said, is to connect all the stakeholders along this chain, from researchers, biotech experts to physicians. In the Essen County, we benefit from a specific medical center with AFM, CNRGA, all these institute with ISTEM as well, among others. And so we've been trying to create a favorable environment to cooperation for years between various stakeholders so that they can speak to each other and understand each other. And that is what my hospital and other stakeholders are currently building. And I'm sure that the patients are active in this process, because without patients there would be no evolution. Absolutely, absolutely. The link with the patient is key. The patient is the heart of our action. Genopole, you mentioned the Genopole. Are you launching call for innovative ideas? How do you work with them? Yes. In order to be in link with the scientific work, the Genopole has been launching call for innovative ideas for many years now, calling for clinicians, but also paramedical experts at hospital to build a project, and the DNA of this initiative is focused on a simplified access to this call for project and a guarantee of the Genopole that there will be a follow-up whether the project is selected or not. A number of projects have been presented, 2/3 by physicians and 1/3 by other medical professions, and many during the last phase, so it's very proactive. It is not surprising because the medical professions can see that this can change the way they work. Absolutely, absolutely. So the feedback from all the medical staffs was extremely positive. There have been 4 editions of this call for innovative ideas. What was the latest laureate? Well, if I may, I would like to first address the various themes that we've been interested in and working on, from virtual reality simulation in the medical context to IT solutions for re-education in speech therapy, or in neurology, action on the web, or work on the Charcot's illness, automation of pharmaceutical prescriptions, or even the development of an application to create a link between the physicians, medical professions, and the families of the patients. So as you can see, it is extremely wide-ranging. Okay, so you're looking for competencies that usually are not found in a hospital, and so you widen to open innovation, if I understand right. So, research includes a part of machine learning, from what I heard, through, among other things, the processing of the data of the patient. Is it something that is becoming commonplace? Well, it should be implemented in every hospital, really. because in order to give innovative ideas, it's important to have feedback on all the current practices so that we can use the biological, radiological, medical data. In order to do that, we need to be able to gather all this data in health data warehouses, and this is what we are trying to do here in the area south of the Parisian area. It's linked to stakes of reliability, security, interoperability. This is really key. Okay, so we understand what translational medicine is, that it is linked to a new type of chains of stakeholders with newcomers. Is it not too complex to have all these type of people with a different language working together? Well, precisely. What is interesting is that people, whether we speak of researchers, patients, clinicians, and other medical professions, they're all highly motivated in the use of these new tools in order to find new solutions. Okay, so from translational medicine to regenerative medicine, we are now speaking with you, Ms. Martinat. And I can't find INSERM. Yes, you are from INSERM. Yes, we are neighbors with my colleague. We are an institute that was created in 2005. INSERM is really on translational medicine research on rare genetic diseases, and the idea is to create new innovative therapeutic approaches on stem cells, and even pluripotent stem cells that are taken from the blood of a patient so that we can refresh their cells. And like a cooking recipe, we can turn them into neuronal cells or heart cells, etc., etc. So this system was created by Mr. Pojanski in 2005 in order to meet the need of new therapies for this fast-developing number of rare diseases. Genetic diseases are more than 7,000 of them linked to muscles, genodermatosis on the skin, and the idea is really to create new drugs through the use of the stem cells. Pluripotent cells. We're going to learn things today together. What on hell is a pluripotent cell? Oh, this is a wonder cell. By definition, a pluripotent cell can develop non-stop, and it can be transformed into any kind of cell that is somewhere in the body. It's like when you have children, and you have to cook for them. You don't know what to do. You could do pasta, tomatoes, etc., etc. Well, a multipotent cell is something that can be turned in any kind of meal, really. So, without entering into too many details, it's fantastic, but there must be a legal and an ethical frame that we will have to develop. And a Japanese team with Mr. Manaka, who received the Nobel Prize for his studies, demonstrated that with only 5 millimeters of blood in a sample, you can rejuvenate the blood of a patient, so that you could think maybe one day that you take some blood from a patient and that you use it at a later stage to rejuvenate his health or her health. Okay, if we think of a new use case now, can you give us an example of what you can do with that? Well, the use case we have been developing in my laboratory recently is the cell patch. It's like a classical phone SIM card. You use the pluripotent cells, you convert them into retina cells, you display them so that it looks like a SIM card, and you insert it in cooperation with the eye specialized Parisian hospital, and you insert that so as to reinsert the cells that are degenerating in the brain of the patient. All right. And what is the link between what you have just described with fantastic potential uses that we are beginning to see and the translational medicine? Is it a technique? Is it an innovation? If we speak of in terms of keywords, we're speaking about innovative therapies. And we are discussing with the pharmaceutical specialists, and they say that we could take the cells of a patient, turn them into neuronal cells in order to cure a patient with a neural disease and identify the new drugs in order to better cure these patients. So it's really about customized treatment, getting faster in the way we find the right solution for the patient. And the whole point of these cells is that we can create banks. We can create millions, billions of those cells. We put them in the fridge, minus 80 degrees, and as soon as the patient needs them, we can take them out of the freezer. Okay, so the drugs are very important because through the research on cells and on stem cells, we can think of new type of cells with therapeutical uses. Yes, we can transform these cells into a treatment, in a way, or in order to identify what kind of drugs could be used. And one thing we've done at INSERM recently is that we try and use already existing drugs that are already on the market, test them on the cells of the patients we have, and ultimately use the existing drug for something different from what was initially planned. Oh, fascinating. It's really a pity we cannot go on this topic for much longer, but thank you so much for this fascinating debate. I hope you've learned things. I've learned a lot. Thank you so much to our speakers. Thanks for the hopes you are bringing about today and tomorrow's medicine. And now we are going to speak about the new space. Space is going to enter into a new phase, and so my colleague is going to welcome two new guests. It's now a new space.